Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat. Here I'm today with the review of the premiere of Rick and Morty the anime that aired last night on Adult Swim, or Toonami rather. And going into it, I admittedly probably had generally low expectations because my opinion is Rick and Morty's quality has definitely gone downhill the past few seasons. And I looked at the trailer, the animation, the trailer looked very poor, and there's just a whole slew of things, and I'm not the only one who feels this way. I think the more people started to get this material out going into this anime, the less eager they were to watch it. And I watched the first episode, and I see it really as a tale of two different episodes, really. So I'm going to say the party episode before the commercial break and the part after commercial. My opinions on those two parts are wildly different. First half of the episode, I generally really liked it, because what I was worried about was that it's going to be a standard Rick and Morty episode that was basically, oh, done done in Japan, so it's anime basically. But it felt different, you know, cuz so much of the criticism Rick and Morty's been getting has been its over reliance on self-referential humor and nihilism, and you really didn't see much of that in the first half or so of the episode. You got this interesting sequence of events, especially with Summer doing all this code stuff, stopping this alien planet from destroying stuff, and then the whole thing with the plot of like, oh, Rick has this ability to go back in time. I thought that was set up well, and the characters seemed very likable at this point. At this point, I really was starting to be optimistic of, oh, this feels like whoever made this never watched Rick and Morty, which on paper sounds like a bad thing, but here that sounds like an amazing thing, considering my opinion and a lot of people's opinions about Rick and Morty recently. And then after the commercial break, things went downhill. So they set up this plot, this, I guess, love story between Morty and this girl called Elle. So, and this is where things really went downhill, in my opinion. I like Elle as a character, I guess, in like the brief moments we see her, but I laughed out loud at multiple points in the second half of this episode because what the hell did I watch? Okay, so I'm gonna try to break up the plot as much as I can. So Morty's in this virtual reality video game that Rick designed, basically to distract him from the mission that Rick and Summer were doing. So he's like this samurai, cyber samurai, and then he ultimately gets saved by this mysterious girl. And then he like blinks and turns out that an alternate reality of Rick saved him. Is like, oh no, in this game all the realities come together and all that stuff. So basically they brought back like the multi-dimensional stuff from Rick and Morty. That was your warning sign that this is going to start sucking bad. And then what transpires the last 10 minutes of the episode can only be explained as someone really wanting to create an anime version of Citizen Kane, but they only watched like the two most famous scenes from Citizen Kane, and they watched like three shoujo in their life and try to make a shoujo out of it, or shujo, however you pronounce it. It's that bad because they do this whole, oh, he grew up in this magic realm and he became rich and successful, but he didn't have what he wanted. Where in this reality it's Elle, which he meets, and she gives him the dragon stone or whatever. That's just Morty in like a ball or some shit. Which, if you watch Citizen Kane, you know the analog for that is the snow globe. And when Citizen Kane dies at the end of the movie, or at the beginning of the movie, actually, he says Rosebud. You learn by the end of that movie that Rosebud is a reference to his sled as a child, which referred to the fact that although growing up, or not growing up, when he was older, he had everything a normal person would want, he never had the childhood he desired, so his life was never complete. So despite him having all these things that everyone else would admire and be envious of, he never felt fulfilled because he never felt fully not human. He never fully felt self-actualized, to borrow a term from Abraham Maslow. He never felt self-actualized. He never felt like he got over some of the more unsavory parts of his childhood. In this case, it's the fact that Morty didn't bang a hot girl he met once. And that's kind of a problem with Rick and Morty, the TV show in general. Morty, for lack of a better term, is a complete simp. He'll meet a girl, he'll fall in love with her, and then like he'll mope about her when he can't have her. Basically, the whole black story of him and Jessica in the show. And it's just that again, and I am worried that the rest of the show is just gonna be him simping after this one girl he'll be able to meet in like spurts because her timeline will very briefly overlap with his in this game. And it's so lame because I swear to God, watched so many anime where the plot is, oh, this girl fell in love with this boy when they're like 5 years old, but it's like 10 years later and he doesn't really remember her, but she's still like madly in love with him. There's like 30 anime I've watched, including half the anime I did for my old random anime review series I did like 4 or 5 years ago, where that was kind of the basic plot line. Like first anime I could think of top of my head is Onodera, basically. Oh, not Onodera, is Nisekoi. Onodera is the name of the main girl in it. Nisekoi, where it's like, oh, this cute meat girl is in love with him, and she has like the lock, and she has like the key, and he has like the lock, or someone had the lock, someone had the key. I guess if you're going from a more phallic sense, he should have the key and she should have the lock. But like this rich girl who's like the daughter of gangsters has one too. And she might have known him. That's what this felt like. Except for Nisekoi did this better. And that's just so frustrating about this. Like the first half of this episode sets up something kind of pretty good, something very promising, and then you just spend the second half of it going back to the crap everyone makes fun of Rick and Morty for being over reliant on, oh, you don't understand the multiverse? We're going to be really scientific. We're going to go way over your head about this. Watch this random reference to this thing that we're so cool to know, but everyone knows that. Anyone who knows media knows what Citizen Kane is. It's the most famous film that has ever been made. Everyone knows who Orson Welles is. And almost everyone at this point knows the meaning behind Rosebud. And that's what makes it so frustrating. It felt like a, it's the perfect encapsulation of someone whose IQ is 105 acting like it's like 150. The guy sounds like the type of person who barely passed college acting like he's in Mensa. Bro, you ain't in Mensa. We know what Citizen Kane is, and we watched enough shoujo to know that there's many other shoujo or general romance anime that have done this concept better. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like one of those things you could commend it, I guess, for trying to be different, trying to not be Rick and Morty. But at times it just goes back to being Rick and Morty, but with bad animation. It's just incredible. And again, yeah, the animation is poor. If I watched it on a TV. If I was watching it on a computer, I would probably be thinking that my computer needs to be upgraded because it's that bad. It looks choppy at points, especially when there was that scene when Morty is running away from like the dragon in the video game. It looks terrible. It looks so choppy. And at the same time, though, it's frustrating because again, the first 7, 8 minutes of it looked promising. If I was rating the first 7, 8 minutes, that's a 7, 8 out of 10. I would be watching the second episode of it if it was just like the first 7, 8 minutes. And then you drop the ball bad. It's incredible. It's like Jason DeMarco realized years later that Fena Pirate Princess was actually kind of good, and he tried remaking it again, but with Rick and Morty. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Taco Bell. I'm gonna pick up a drink cup. I'm gonna fill it third Baja Blast, third Dr. Pepper, third Pepsi because I like all three of those flavors. You put it together and it tastes like liquid garbage. That's basically what it sounds. That's basically what this is. It's the anime equivalent of that. It's frustrating to watch. I mean, and this feels like diminishing returns already because Rick and Morty is not even like is not even like the flagship anime of Adult Swim anymore. I think that belongs to Smiling Friends. And I mean, it's just all diminishing returns at this point. But what do you guys think? I'm very opinionated here, as you can tell. This review is approaching 10 minutes. What do you guys think? Leave your comments, your opinions down below. If I had to rate this, since I have to sum the first and second half together, 5 out of 10. What do you guys think? Leave your comments, your opinions down below. I'm Super Orange Cat, and that is all.